Yo guys, what's up? It's Inflexxius. Today we're playing Jax versus Quinn top. Pretty bad matchup for Jax. She's a very solid counter pick into him because it's really hard for Jax to engage onto her, and she has too much poke for him to sustain, right? Because Jax doesn't have very good sustain at all, right? He's got no built-in sustain. So, right off the bat, the laning phase is already, going to be hard, right? So, here, she needs one more minion for level 2, right? So, you see her walking up to the bush I'm in. She's trying to bait that the minion drops low, and then she wants to walk into the bush and all in me, right? Because even though I'm Jax, even though I'm a melee champion, I'm Jax, right? She's gonna beat me in the all-in if she's level 2 and I'm level 1, right? So I'm just staying as far back as possible. I'll get any CS she lets me get, but as it stands, I'm just looking for XP, right? That's the top priority, right? Because you can lose CS, right? Losing CS is obviously not ideal, but it's fine, it's acceptable. But as long as you don't fall behind in XP, then you will probably be fine giving up CS, right? But falling behind in XP is the real killer. So, I'm playing super safe and I'm sacking a lot of XP. Because if you guys noticed, I started D-Blade. Now, obviously, that's not ideal versus Quinn. See, what happened was, the reason why I went D-Blade instead of D-Shield, was I thought I was up against Aatrox. So, D-Shield is good into Aatrox as well, but I've been testing D-Blade into the Aatrox matchups to see how it feels. But I was not expecting to play versus Quinn. I should have, right? I should have assumed that they could do the lane swap and then, I should have been ready for them to do the lane swap and just gone D-Shield, because it's fine into Aatrox and it's much better into Quinn, right? So a little bit of an oopsie-daisy by me. Here, you see, like, as soon as you jump on her, she immediately uses her E to disengage. But you see, notice I didn't use my E, right? So your Q, as Jax, has a 4-second shorter cooldown than Quinn E. So I was hoping that she wouldn't respect that, and then I could Q onto her a second time with my E running, and then get a good follow-up trade-off, right? She respected it, so I couldn't punish her for that. Well played by her. I'm just testing her, like, seeing if there's any gaps in her knowledge in the matchup, right? I don't necessarily expect there to be, because this is a challenger Quinn one-trick pony, right? So I don't expect any of these to work necessarily, but you know what? You try for it, you see, right? So now the wave is pushing to me hard enough that I'm not going to lose that many CS. I'm not going to lose that much CS as she pushes into me, right? So that's so so I can just wait for the CS to come to me, the minions to come to me, and just farm it out under tower while trying to avoid as much harass as possible. Like I said earlier, avoiding harass is super important for me in this matchup because I don't have D-Shield, right? Sometimes you can go for a CS hero there that will cost you some health, because, your D-Shield will heal it up, right? It gives you a lot of sustain versus, like, matchups specifically like this, like, harass-heavy matchups, right? But starting D-Blade, it means I have to give up a lot more CS than I otherwise would have to. Because otherwise, I don't have sustain, that means I will just... I'm much easier to drop low and then kill and or dive, right? So I need to just respect that. She also has Ignite, right? Which is another level of respect that I need to give her. So here, I don't know for sure where she went at this point, right? But I can tentatively push out the wave here. Because here's the thing, right? I want to try to shove this wave out, if she did back, right? Which she probably did, right? Then I want to make sure that I can clear this wave before she gets back. Before she gets back to lane. Because I want to have enough gold for my plated steel caps, right? So you see, I just slow push that wave to make him lose as many minions as possible. Here she just comes running at me. I put my E to block damage. I tried to ward hop, but I'm blinded by the bird, so I can't see the ward to hop to it, so I just decide to flash. I probably didn't need to flash there. I could probably have just eaten biscuits and kept walking and I would have lived. But you know what? It is what it is. No, I'm not 100% sure I would have lived there without flashing, but I'm pretty sure. So here we saw her use her E. That means I can go for a trade here. If your E's ever on cooldown, then you can go for a trade. auto, and then W because it gives you that 50 extra increased auto attack range, right? And there we go. You see, if you can land the stun on her, right, then you can get really good trades on her. Here, run at her. Her E still has a few seconds on the cooldown. Run it. Use the brute stiff to run at her and leap on her with the counter strike. So play the steel caps rush versus Quinn is really good because it gives you movement speed to space her, and also it's just, you know, play the steel caps versus auto attacks is just really good, right? It helps a lot for her auto attack harass. It's probably, as Jax, it's the best item to rush versus Quinn in lane, right? But obviously you can't always rush it, because sometimes play the steel caps just is not the item you want to build, right? Sometimes you'll want Ionian boots or Merc treads that game. But in the games where you can go comfortably go play the steel caps, rushing it versus Quinn is usually the play. So here I don't really want to contest her on the wave because I don't know where Karthus is. I'm scared he might be just, you know, sitting in the bush. So I kind of have to let her crash this, sadly. Because something that's worse than letting her crash this is dying and then losing this whole wave, right? So sad stuff. Like that'd be sad stuff, right? So here, she probably backed. I start shoving the wave. I don't use my counter strike in case she's cheesing in the bush, right? Because if I use my counter strike, she can probably just fight me here and kill me. When I'm caught, at this point, I'm pretty certain she's backed, right? So you gotta shove the wave in really quickly. Otherwise, Quinn is just going to, you know, when Quinn backs, she's gonna get the bird and then come flying back to lane at high speeds, right? So she doesn't, like, take a long time to get back to lane at all. Sit in base to wait for the Karthus ult, damage to get healed up, and go back to lane. So hop to the minions to get to lane faster. So I went double longsword here because even though the trades are pretty short, I don't think that I'm going to be able to consistently get an auto attack off on her, right? If she E's fast, if she E's correctly and quickly enough, I'm probably not going to be able to get a Sheen empowered auto attack off on her after I Q her, right? But what is likely for me to be able to get off, what is likely that I'll be able to get off is the Q damage, which scales with AD, right? So I'm probably going to get more damage off the trades with double longsword. Not only that, but if I manage to force an all-in somehow, right? Double longsword is better than Sheen for that. So here comes Amumu, he's coming up to gank. I use E to block some minion damage here. Amumu wants help getting out, but I don't really want to walk off if I can help it. I want him to Q to the minions here, but he just doesn't. So now I have to jump onto the Quinn here, because this Amumu is in real danger of dying. Press R to get the resistances, to avoid, to, you know, take as little damage as possible. So Quinn is now which helps a lot, right? She can't bully me as hard as she would like to, because she's now Her E costs 50 mana, so she doesn't even have enough mana to eat right now. And I still have 3 biscuits, right?
What do you see up there?
So I jump on her head here. She only gets 1 auto attack off, which is fine. And there we go. So CS the minions under towers as safely as you can. Karthus takes Herald here, so I need to be respectful of that, right? Like, if the enemy jungler takes Herald, then, you know, then they're probably, a lot of the time they'll be looking for a top play after they take Herald. Not always, but a lot of the time, right? So here I try to get a trade off, it doesn't really work out. We see Karthus on Grump, so, and I'm really low on health, so I need to back off here. I don't want to get dove by the Karthus, right? So I just decide to back here. Karthus comes to stop my back. Karthus actually loops around to come stop my bank. Jump on him, get the E, stun him, and flash away, right? I got exhausted by the Karthus. If he didn't exhaust me, I might have been able to kill him anyway, because he is but it was going to be really hard with that exhaust, right? And even if I did manage to kill him, then his passive, then I would still have to dodge his Qs on the way out with, when he's in passive, right, trying to get the return kill. So yeah, I might have been able to outplay there, but I wasn't really feeling it. So get back to lane, leap to minions as you catch up to them. Leaping to minions gives you, you know, gets you to lane faster. If you can leap up with the minion wave, then it lets you get to lane a bit faster. Always be low. Don't just walk to lane. Like if your champion has tools to get to lane faster, then you should actively be using them, right? Stuff like Garen Q, LeBlanc W even. Obviously, if you have the if you're like, you know, if you're allowed to, like, based on mana limitations, right? I don't think there's any champion in the game that can't use their dash to get to lane faster because of mana limitations, but... So here, the lane is now pushing back to Quinn. Yeah, so we just farm it out. I can't really jump on her because, you know, the aforementioned, she will just disengage. Also, she has her mythic item now, so no, we need to be respectful of that. She has a whole extra dash, which we need to keep in mind, right? So I jump on her head here, counter strike to block the damage. So at this point, I'm trying a trade pattern of just QWing onto her, and then using my E to deny her trade back, so that to try to poke her down, right? Obviously, if I do that too many times, I'm just going to run right? Here I try for the auto W, for the auto attack reset on the W, but she doesn't allow it, which is, you know, correct by her. She has the reaction to deny it. Here I jump on her head here because her E wasn't off cooldown for like a second. Here I go for the all-in because she didn't E directly towards her tower. I managed to get a bit faster, and we get a good trade, right? But here's Karthus, and that's pretty unfortunate. Quinn E's me, Karthus hits me with the Q, and it's over. So, that's fair, right? Karthus was there, he ganked me. I didn't have vision because of that pink ward in the river, which made it really hard for me to engage on her there. Not to mention that Karthus wasn't on the map for a while, and also Karthus has Herald. That's the thing you have to consider, right? If the enemy jungler has Herald, then you have to be very careful about dying, because if you ever die and the enemy jungler is topside to drop that Herald, they can just, you know, there goes your tower. Like, if you ever die, your tower, and they have Herald, your tower just goes. Your tower's dead. You lose your whole tower for that, and, you know, obviously not great. So you have to be very careful when the enemy team has, when the enemy jungler has access to Herald. So, just farm it out here. We see Quinn mid. So maybe we can, I hold the wave here. Maybe Wukong, maybe we can bait Quinn into pushing up in here, so that Wukong can, you know, gank her. But even if she doesn't come, right? Even if Wukong, like, even if she doesn't, like, come before Wukong recalls, that's fine, because we want to slow push this wave anyway, because we want the wave, the slower you push the wave, the closer to your tower, the next wave is going to get caught, right? And I don't exactly want to push out right now, right? I can't really apply pressure. I can't fight the Quinn in the side lane. I don't want to interact with her in the side lane. She's so much stronger than me right now, right? She got so much gold. So, I'm just going to, you know, push it, but not push it too quickly. See, I feel comfortable walking up here, because I can just, you know, alright, so the wave is close to my tower. Here, Aatrox overextends, I go for TP, jump on him, auto W, R. I didn't need to R to kill him there, but I didn't want Veigar to die because Aatrox had flash and just murders him, right? Like, I don't know if Aatrox had flash or not, so I just wanted to make sure that Aatrox didn't have a chance to use it if he had it. So here, help the Veigar push out the wave, and then push the tower. Veigar was pinged, he wanted the CS, so I just, you know, dropped the minions low, like a good team player. I just dropped the minions low, didn't take any of them. Here, you know, just rotate down to Dragon, secure it with the team, after taking mid tower, you know. And then just back. We're still shy of our Divine Sunderer, so we're not very strong yet, right? Ideally, we want our first item before we start fighting in earnest, but we don't really have that luxury this game, right? So, bot lane is pushed out, top lane is getting handled by Veigar, so let's go mid lane, right? It's the only lane with minions, right? So there's no point in going to a lane without minions, or not much point at this stage of the game. So, because we can just shove out this mid lane, we can shove out mid wave here, and then just rotate up to Herald. See, so we see Nautilus bot lane along with Samira. So this is actually just a free herald. They can't contest it. We're 4v3 up here. So, again, we're prepared for the Karthus trying for the steal. Wukong checking out to see if Karthus is hovering the wall, but then we see Karthus topside to defend the tower, right? So now we know we can comfortably take this herald. We can go mid lane, see if maybe we can get a play down on the Quinn, but she backs off, which is correct. She saw us take herald, she got the announcement, right? So she's obviously going to run downwards away from herald to try to get away from any possible ganks. No one else is managing bot lane, so I'm on my way down there to go catch the wave and defend the tower. Here I am trying to bait Nautilus into stopping his back, but he does not. I don't want to jump on him, right? Because if I jump on him, like we saw Samira nearby, right? She was probably backing in this bush just above us, right? And I wasn't certain, so I didn't want to take the chance. So here we just shove out the wave. We almost have enough for Divine Thunder. I want to back for it. But then I see that the next wave is available to be taken, because it'd be a little bit risky to take this wave. But I have my Wukong very nearby, right? And this tower is pretty much free if we can shove this wave in, so... So we go for it. Here Wukong catches the Karthus. I jump in, secure the kill. Now, I started running around here trying to dodge Karthus Qs. I try to ward hop, and I don't have my Q ready, so then I die. So, pretty inty by me. So, let me explain. I didn't need to jump in there, right, to secure that kill. Wukong had it. However, I was not expecting to get mulched by the Karthus there. I was not expecting that kind of damage, right? I hadn't looked at his items. I now see he has a Liandry's and a Shadow Flame, right? Of course he's going to do an insane amount of damage, and I had no MR. I didn't even press R, right? So I didn't even get the resistances from my ult. So I just got freaking shredded. Now, if I knew Karthus was going to destroy me that hard, right? I had two options. I either don't jump in and just let Wukong finish him off, or I do jump in, but then I can just run downwards because the minions were still tanking the tower there, right? So I could have just ran downwards and flashed if I needed to. Here Quinn jumps our Sivir. Mumu counter gets the trade 1-for-1. So that's alright. Quinn gets a big shutdown on Sivir, which is unfortunate, but not really much we could have done there. Here we just go bot lane to catch the wave again. Again, all the other waves are managed. All the other lanes are managed, so we should go push out bot lane. We finally have our Divine Thunder, so now we are a lot more dangerous, honestly. Pre-Divine Thunder and post-Divine Thunder Jax are two completely different champions. So we pushed out their wave. We go check to see maybe nobody defends the tower. Probably somebody does. There it is, right? But if they weren't, then we can just take the tower there, right? No harm. We lose a few seconds if they do defend the tower, right? But if they don't defend the tower, we get like 250, 300 gold, right? So here we see Karthus trying to steal our red. I come up to help. Mumu catches the engage. I don't want to engage just yet because my team's not close enough yet. And now we engage. Jump in, land the E, land the R. And then we disengage because we don't want to get mulched by Karthus again. Here Aatrox starts comboing us, and we have to flash away, and that's fine. Flashing there is perfectly fine, because Aatrox used all of his abilities. He used his W and 2 Qs on us to try to take us out there, right? Try to murder us there, right? But that's okay, because when we flash away like that, we ate all of his abilities and then came out of it fine. And then Aatrox is no longer a threat. After using his cooldowns like that, Aatrox is no longer a threat to the Veigar. Because we're not going to carry this game 1v9, right? Like, we got put too far behind, right? We got counterpicked, and then we got weak-sided. Like, Wukong didn't really come top lane, right? So, we don't have enough resources to... jump into the team and kill everybody, right? But that's fine. We just need to play appropriately. So, if you look at their comps, right? It helps a lot to look at the comps of the teams and see what your job is, right? And in team fights, I want to be grouping because I don't want to side lane versus the Quinn just yet, right? So I want to be grouping. And what I'm doing in team fights is, my job in team fights is to protect my backline, right? Play front to back, don't let Samira, Aatrox, or or Quinn just to kill my Veigar and Sivir. So here, they're doing Baron, we come to contest. I work through the Nautilus here, so that my team can walk up. At this point, we've won the fight. So now I'm allowed to jump in, right? To try to finish off as many of them as possible. Here, I don't want to get shredded by the Karthus too much. I don't want to take too much damage from the Karthus. Because I can't sustain it back up, right? And I want to be on the map still for a bit longer. So here, my team keeps chasing down the Aatrox. I don't bother helping, because either they're going to get him with or without me. They're a bit too far away at that point. So I don't rotate up to group with the team here, because right now, the whole enemy team's dead, right? We take as many objectives as we can, right? Nobody's going to contest us. And me rotating up and spending all that time to go help my team push, I could spend that time doing other things, like, for example, taking mid tower here. My team's going to take that inhibitor and that tower and those towers without me, right? So here the enemy team tries to engage on us. Here we get the disengage, so I decide, okay, I don't need to TP. And then Amumu re-engages. I really don't want to fight here because we haven't backed yet. Like, the enemy team's just res. They've bought and they've regenerated their resources, right? So you don't really want a team fight in this scenario, right? Where you haven't backed and the enemy team has. So I didn't feel comfortable team fighting there, so I decided to just hold my TP. And just get the bot tower here, get the wave. Here I rotate over to try to help this, to try to finish off the Aatrox after he kills the Sivir, right? That's what's happening and what I'm thinking in my mind, is that I want to go finish off the Aatrox after he kills the Sivir. Here I start rotating over. But then Sivir just kills him by herself, so you know what? Nice, fair enough. So I just take the wolves here, right? It's another thing I can grab, right? Like, take every objective you can. Take as much as you can without being punished for it, right? So wolves is available to be taken. I feel comfortable being able to take it because I don't think they're going to come check this fast enough, and even if they do, I have the Blast Cone and Ward Hop to get away, right? So we recall, and because we got those wolves, we now have enough to buy that Ruby Crystal. So we're going Sterax. I like Sterax on Jax if I need to team fight and the enemy team has a lot of burst, right? Karthus is shredding me, Samira actually has a decent amount of damage as well, Aatrox has a lot of burst, and Quinn has a lot of burst, right? So I want to be able to be in the team fights without worrying about just dying outright, right? So here I go to contest Quinn. And then we see Karthus kind of just walking in here and trying to steal our blue buff, which is kind of unusual. So just walk at him, press R to secure the resistances, and you know, don't Q on him, right? Just walk at him. If you don't need to use your Q, then just don't use your Q, right? And there we go. That's one Karthus. And now we go push out top lane. And yeah, if you guys like watching me catch out errant Karthuses in the jungle, and are enjoying the informative gameplay commentary, then remember to like and subscribe. So here we recall, we need to get our resistances back, right? We can't, so now we can split push versus the Quinn, right? Now we're strong enough to split push versus the Quinn. Because we've scaled. Like, Jax does outscale Quinn, thank goodness, right? And if you look at her items, she has 2.5 items, right? We have 2 and... we're a little bit gold down on her still, right? We're about like 900 gold down on her. 900 to 1,000 gold down on her. But that's fine. We're Jax, she's Quinn. We do outscale. So here, I go to stop the Quinn from backing, move to cut her off, walk her like that to cut her off. She Gale forces the E, I backstep to cut out my E cooldown. I go in, I make sure, I know she wants to climb on the bird and run away, so I ward hop the bush, flash on her to land the stun. We don't talk about the ult. Keep chasing. Wait for, there we go, get the stun. Position that if she E's me, she goes into tower, and there we go. See, once you get to a point where you can fight her in a long lane, and you have some cooldown on your Q and E, then you can fight her, right? When you have a bit of a shorter cooldown on your Q and E, then you can fight her. So here, get the refillable potion, continue working towards the anathemas. And we TP into this fight. And Mumu gets the engage. This is a 5v4 because Quinn is dead, right? So, how do they win this fight? You gotta ask yourself, how do they win this fight? And the way they would win that fight, the way I saw them winning that fight was Karthus doing a bunch of AoE damage, which he did, and then Samira just going in and doing Samira things, right? So my mind was completely 100% focused on making sure that Samira did not do those things, right? Because if she jumped into our backline and just Samira on our team, it would have been so over, right? So as soon as she leapt into my backline, I queued onto her, and released my stun, and then, you know, shut her down. So here we take the inhib. You know, we have 3 versus 3, although I think the Atrox DC'd or something. So it's actually 3 versus 2 right now. We decide to push for the... towers. See, we're looking for the... we just want the Nexus towers. Now, I hung around for a little bit longer than I should have. I should have left immediately after we killed the Nexus towers. Here I get hit by the Nautilus hook. I counter-strike to try to reduce some damage. I should be running up towards the Veigar to leap to him. But, I don't, and I die for it. I didn't play that as well as I could have, for sure. Here, Quinn just chasing Wukong down because we're W. She's really good at it. But then Amumu shows up, they turn on her and just shred her. Veigar getting engaged on by the Nautilus up here. I sell my D-Blade for the Anathemas. And yeah. 2 for 4, not exactly the best, but you know what? That's fine, because we got the Nexus towers, right? Taking out the enemy team's Nexus towers applies so much pressure to them, because now backdoors are open. Now they don't have towers to hide behind, right? It applies so much pressure, so obviously losing 4 people and getting shutdowns, like giving away those... If we gave away shutdowns, then, you know, that sucks, right? But, you know, we got their Nexus towers. That applies so much pressure. And now I'm going to go bot lane to shove that out. Because it is risky to go bot lane, right? Because Baron is up and I don't have TP. So if they immediately go to Baron, it becomes the enemy team gets a 5v4, right? However, I don't think they're going to do that. 1, because their Nexus towers are down. 2, because their inhibitor is down. And 3, because Karthus is just rezzed, right? So what I can instead do with that is ensure that I can shove this huge wave in. Karthus appears mid lane, so I go, drop the Anathemas on him. That's why I got the Anathemas, right? So if the enemy team has a single AP threat, then instead of building MR, what you can do is instead just put an Anathemas on them. You build Anathemas and you put that on them, and then they're going to do 30% reduced damage, and that's basically pseudo MR, right? Then you have an Anathemas, that's a very cheap item, and gives you nice stats in health and ability haste, right? So here Mumu just one-shots the Karthus by himself. Like, I wasn't expecting that, but there it is. Here I E to block the some of the Karthus R damage, because as Jax, when you're Eing, it reduces the cooldown, it reduces the damage of AoE abilities by 25%, right? And here we just push for the end. So I go in, Wukong gets hooked by the Nautilus, Sivir gets ulted. I counter-strike, but I get slowed by the Nautilus, so I don't get to land it on the person I want to. Here I start just beating on the Samira, start beating on her. Cut back until my E comes back up, re-engage after my E's up, because I don't want to, you know, the Samira is pretty fed, so we gotta respect that. Sivir, Quinn engages on me, but her E gets caught by a Veigar. And that's that. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hope to see you in the next one.